Welcome back, warrior. We are so excited to read Alma chapter 50. And we just read our favorite one, which was Alma chapter 49. And we'll see what happens here. I think Alma 50 is also a favorite, but more so 49. Okay, Moroni fortifies the lands of the Nephites. They build many new cities. Sorry, my glasses, I'm missing. They build many new cities. Wars and destructions befell the Nephites in the days of in the days of their wickedness and abominations. Whoa, that's a lot of stuff happening in chapter 50. Never mind, I might not like it. Morianton. I really need to get my glasses here. Did I keep them here? I did not. Morianton and his dissenters are defeated by Teancum. Nephihah dies, and his son Pahoran fills the judgment seat. Here we go. There are 40 verses. And we will get started. We'll get right into it so that we can see what happens. Okay. Here we go. And now it came to pass that Moroni did not stop making preparations for war or to defend his people against the Lamanites, for he caused that his armies should commence in the commencement of the 20th year of the reign of the judges, that they should commence in digging up heaps of earth round about all the cities throughout all the land, which was possessed by the Nephites. And upon the top of these ridges of earth he caused that there should be timbers, yea, works of timbers built up to the height of a man round about the cities. So that sounds like a fence, right? But like made out of timbers or wood. And he caused that upon those works of timbers, okay, so hold on. So first, he's building up heaps of earth round about the city. So there's like big mounds. Then there's like fence made out of trees, right? Timbers. And he caused that upon those works of timbers, there should be a frame of pickets built upon the timbers round about. And they were strong and high. Dude, I need these guys to come over and do our yard. Are you kidding? We've been trying to do our fence on the side ever since we got here. And I think it's been like 5 years. Our poor neighbors are probably like, let's not look at that side of the street so that we can know that it's not super trashy over there. Right? Anyway. Not for lack of trying. It's just that when we get bids, they're enormous amounts of money. We're just like, what? We don't even understand. We don't even get it. I'm like, maybe I'll just make a big mound of cement bags and put water on it. You know, like, did you see that YouTube video? It's amazing. Anyway, I'm like, really? Why has it got to be so complicated? Anyways. Yeah, upwards of like 80 grand is what people want to tell us for just our side fence. Because we need like a retaining wall, you know? And I'm like, no. Also, we only need a retaining wall halfway through, not all the way back. And our lot is not like 10 acres or anything. So I don't even. Anyway, so speaking of, here we go. And he caused that those works of timbers, there should be a frame of pickets built upon the timbers. Okay, yeah. And then he caused towers to be erected that overlooked those works of pickets. And he caused places of security to be built upon those towers, that the stones and arrows of the Lamanites could not hurt them. Something really cool that we learned when we went to Portugal was the castles had these windows inside. Okay, inside the castle, the windows are like this big probably, okay? But then you could literally only see out of like this much of a view. And it's so that the arrows wouldn't be able to come in and hit people, but you could still see out. And I was like, that's kind of smart, you know, but like you could like literally perch yourself in there. And like, if you had an arrow or a bow and arrow, you could shoot from there, but you wouldn't be able to have any come in because it would be so precise of like that location. Anyway, we thought it was super cool. So that's probably what they did here. It says he caused towers to be erected that overlooked those works of pickets, but he caused places of security to be built upon those towers so that they'd be secure, so that stones and arrows wouldn't be able to hurt them. So I'm guessing that's maybe how they did that. And they were prepared that they could cast stones from the top thereof. Okay, so maybe they could still cast stones according to their pleasure and their strength, and slay him who should attempt to approach near the walls of the city. Thus Moroni did prepare strongholds against the coming of their enemies round about every city in all the land. Dude, that is wild, right? Okay, every city had defenses set up. Okay, so recap. Even though the Lamanites were utterly defeated and they did not lose one single Nephite, Moroni did not sit back and think that they were now sufficiently safe, right? So he knew that just as they gained experience from this battle, so did the Lamanites, and they now knew exactly what they were up against, and they could learn from that, right? So they both continued to get more and more sophisticated. Right? That's the only thing like that is sad. Like once the enemy attacks, the enemy now knows what strategies you've had in place or put in place, and then they can make adjustments. And that's like what it is in our life too. Once we've made adjustments and make those changes in our lives, Satan changes things accordingly and is like, oh, Linda didn't used to do that, right? Because we're doing things that never had been done before from us, right? Or like he's never seen us do these kinds of things. And so now he's like, well, she hasn't done that before, but now she's doing that. So let's adjust. And it only takes him like, I'm guessing a couple seconds, but I'd like to think that it's maybe a few days just to give me some breather room. Anyway. And so it is something that we need to constantly be doing and constantly be changing. And I do love being consistent with my dailies and doing those things all the time. But what's really interesting is if we throw different things in there and change things up, Satan doesn't expect certain things to happen at certain times. And so we can throw things into our schedule that will strengthen us, and it'll be least expected. And so it will actually strengthen us and it will work. He knows our schedule. Okay. I am a little bit convinced that like they don't sleep, obviously. But because it's so hard to like wake up and go to the temple and wake up and do exercising and working out. So I believe that we need angels to help us with these things, right? But I do believe that like once we get there, like we've already won the battle. Like just as long as we get there, we've like won. Or once we've walked out the door, we have won. And it's like awesome to think, hey, I was able to win this battle, and you're on your way to go work out and it's going to be awesome, and I'm not going to pretend to think that they're not there where I'm working out. Cause let me tell you, I'll be like, I can do this weight. And then it's like, no, you should do the lighter weight. Anyway, you don't need my play-by-plays, but that's just kind of like what I was thinking. Like, once, like, yes, he's attacking us, but once we have the upper hand, it's like, that's like that momentum that we need. I think that's that spiritual momentum that President Nelson talks about. Like, just get yourself up, like, just get yourself over the hump, and then you'll be good to go. Like once we put our sneakers on, boom, we're going. We're going to go work out. Yes. And then it's just smooth sailing, right? Like, that's kind of like how I picture it. Maybe it's not quite that easy, but here's a quote from Elder James E. Faust, our favorite. I think we will witness increasing evidence of Satan's power as the kingdom of God grows stronger. I believe Satan's ever-expanding efforts are some proof of the truthfulness of this work. In the future, the opposition will be both more subtle and more open. It will be masked in greater sophistication and cunning, but it will also be more blatant. We will need greater spirituality to perceive all the forms of evil and greater strength to resist it. End quote. Right? Like, mic drop. And then this other one from from him, he also said this in the same talk. He said, "We just recently heard President Ernest Leroy Hatch of the Guatemala City Temple say the devil is not smart because he is the devil. He is smart because he is old." Mm-hmm. End quote. With the mm-hmm. No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure they didn't say mm-hmm. But would be awesome though if they did. Anyway, I'm going to screenshot that because that is a powerful quote, two powerful quotes in one, kind of need that. And I've heard those quotes before, and pretty sure I've loved them then too. Here we go. Done. Save to photos. If you ever need these screenshots that I'm sending or that I save myself, just let me know in the comments and I will send them to you. Okay. Here we go. I just, that would be kind of fun to like put together like a quotes thing. You're making me think ideas. Okay. And it came to pass that Moroni caused that his armies should go forth into the east wilderness. Yea, and they went forth and drove all the Lamanites who were in the east wilderness into their own lands, which were south of the land of Zarahemla. And the land of Nephi did run in a straight course from the east sea to the west. And it came to pass that when Moroni had driven all the Lamanites out of the east wilderness, which was north of the lands of their own possessions, he caused that the inhabitants who were in the land of Zarahemla and in the land round about should go forth into the east wilderness, even to the borders by the seashore, and possess the land. And he also placed armies on the south in the borders of their possessions, and caused them to erect fortifications, that they might secure their armies and their people from the hands of their enemies. And thus he cut off all the strongholds of the Lamanites in the east wilderness, yea, and also on the west, fortifying the line between the Nephites and the Lamanites, between the land of Zarahemla and the land of Nephi, from the west sea, running by the head of the river Sidon, the Nephites possessing all the land northward, yea, even all the land which was northward of the land bountiful, according to their pleasure. Okay, so Moroni took further measures and drove Lamanites that were nearby further into their own lands, and then he had Nephites possess land further out. He also identified Lamanite strongholds in the wilderness, so outside of their cities. So he was just frustrating all of their advantages. He was fortifying the line between the two nations. He was making it hard to even get to them. What does this mean? He was setting up boundaries. We need to set those boundaries. We need to fortify those boundaries. And we can't be weak. Sometimes after D-Day, you set some boundaries and you don't reassess the boundary situations or the boundary your boundaries, right? Or the concept, like what your actions will be if those boundaries are crossed. And there, you need to continue to readjust and reassess, because sometimes our husbands can be making progress, and we can adjust our boundaries based on the progress that they're making. I know that, obviously our boundaries are not necessarily something that that we control about them, but it is something that we control about us. And so the safer we feel, the more we can adjust our boundaries. Now, if there are certain boundaries that you feel cannot ever be adjusted, well, those are different. I think those are like those places of security, right? But I do believe that we need to have those boundaries set up, and specifically boundaries for the adversary. Like if the adversary is able to trigger you with certain things, what are you going to do, right? Like, what is it that you're going to do to take action to strengthen and fortify yourself after that has happened? For example, this past Sunday, yesterday, I was struggling with a lot of things, and to put it simply, this might seem really weird. To put it simply is I was getting hit with the fiery darts and feeling like the torture. And I was like, why am I feeling these really intensely? Why am I have set up things in place for myself? And I went back and thought, okay, I hadn't walked with Christ for the past 2 days. So I think my last one was Friday, and I meant to do one on Saturday, and I meant to do it on Sunday, and I never did. And so Sunday was extra hard. And then, but also it was like, I don't understand, because I have certain things in place, like to say my affirmations and to do those things. And when I was getting hit so hard, I tried to recite my affirmations. And let me tell you, I have memorized them. I couldn't remember them. And I could barely remember the very beginning. And I was just like, this is crazy. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to need to double down on my fortifications. I need to reassess. I need to strengthen myself, because this was not cool. Like not expected, not cool, and really hurtful. And I was in a lot of pain. And I communicated some of those things to my husband, and luckily he was able to hold a safe space for me. And he was able to make, when I picture spouses, I picture like fighting battles. I picture Ant-Man and the Wasp. Okay. They both fight and can fight together, but they fight not against each other, but they fight together and like against other people or against the enemy. Right. And when we're not fighting together, against the enemy, I picture like Tony Stark with, in his Iron Man suit, and Hulk is beating him down, right? He's supposed to be on the right side, but Hulk is totally, what is he? He's been blinded. His mind has been taken over by the witch. I can't remember her name. Anyways, and so they are both on the same team, but they're fighting against each other. And that's what I see when we're not in sync, right? Like that's what I picture when we're not in sync. But when we're in sync and we're fighting together, I see Ant-Man and the Wasp. And so I think that's so cool that he was able to show up for me and listen to me and hold a safe place for me so that we could do the fighting together, right? And it wasn't so much that, it was just some of the words that he said really helped to shield some of those things for me also. And so I love being able to share certain things with my husband if I'm able to get into that spot. Like I wasn't able to get into that spot earlier, and so it was hard. Then, but finally, like when I'm able to articulate those things that are triggering me or those things that are hard to share, because it's my internal torture, right? Satan's torturing me. When I can voice those things, when I can bring the torture to light, if you will, then we're able to address it, and we can address it together, right? And I think that's so powerful as a couple that we can do that. And I know that some couples can't do that, and that is so hard. And so you have to figure out how to do that on your own. And I had to figure out how to do that on my own for so long, because I was never good at articulating my triggers, my torture. And it's only even been recently that I've been able to do that without like bawling, And so anyway, we need to fortify that line between the adversary and us, right? And our safe place. So super cool. Okay, thus Moroni, with his armies, which did increase daily because of the assurance of protection which his works did bring forth unto them, did seek to cut off the strength and the power of the Lamanites from off the lands of their possessions, that they should have no power upon the lands of their possession. And it came to pass that the Nephites began the foundation of a city, and they called the name of the city Moroni, of course. And it was by the east sea, and it was on the south by the line of the possessions of the Lamanites. So they were expanding, right? And they also began a foundation for a city between the city of Moroni and the city of Aaron, joining the borders of Aaron and Moroni. and they called the name of the city or the land Nephihah. So they're expanding, they're getting prosperous, they're growing. This is fun. And they also began in that same year to build many cities on the north, one in particular manner, which they called Lehi, which was in the north by the borders of the seashore. And thus ended the 20th year. Okay, so have you ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon? Where you get to build, this is like on a computer, where you get, well, it was, I think you can get it on your video gaming console now, but where you build roller coasters, like you build a theme park, and you open it up for the public, and you get so excited that you have some visitors, and then you have to build like more roller coasters, more places to eat, more bathrooms, more things, and you're just like building these things, and it's so fun. And then like you get way more people, and then it like the little pop-up is like, you're getting a lot of people, you need to build more stuff, and you're just like, yeah, amazing, and you just get so excited. So that's like what I'm envisioning here. I'm like getting so excited that they're expanding and growing and prospering, right? They're finding success. Okay, and then let's see. So this is an amazing verse. More and more Nephites joined Moroni's armies because of the assurance of protection. His army grew because they trusted their lives to him because of his great care to keep them safe. Ooh, I love that. I just got chills, because you know how emotional I get with military and their sacrifice that they do for our country and for all the countries out there, And it makes me sad whenever there's any kind of death. Like, how could we join something that we get hurt, right? And people are so courageous. And anyway, like, I love that more people wanted to join Moroni's army because he could keep them safe. How comforting that would be as a parent of those who want to serve in the military, right? To be like, yeah, for sure, like, I'll support you going to Moroni's army, because they never die, or very few die, or I don't know. I don't think I could be a mom of military peeps, because it would be like, I can barely watch my kids play sports. Okay, anyway, somebody was calling. I don't know who it was. Anyways, pretty wild. During this time, they continued to prosper. They built many new cities, and one was named Moroni, the other Nephihah. So this was not a time of fear, anxiety, and desperation that the enemy will come again. This was a time of peace, security, prosperity, and growth, even with very real threats and concerns. And the amount of growth, building fence, building, ditch digging, that would have been taking place would not have been done by a few hardworking Nephites. This would require numberless people contributing, working, sawing, digging, helping, cooking, lifting, etc. The more that would help, the more they would prosper. I think that's so awesome that they were able to come together as a huge community and be able to do that. I'm trying to think of, and you know what's interesting? Like, when you serve together, you stay together, right? And it strengthens your bond together. Like, I wish that we could have more youth activities that provided service opportunities for our youth. Now, granted, I was a youth leader pretty much when COVID hit, so we didn't have very many opportunities to serve. But we did try doing the masks and all those things. But now I'm like, dude, we can do like anything. And I'm no longer a youth leader. And I know that, like, if I really wanted to, I could like organize youth and be like, hey, come serve. And we do that sometimes for Christmas, where we allow people to come pick up boxes and serve. But I'm talking about like community things, like go and so I love those opportunities when my son goes and is able to, and my other son too, and like when they're able to go and serve as like their quorum or their group, like it just strengthens them and strengthens their bond together. And I think that's what happens, or that's what happened with Moroni and Nephihah, or with the people of Moroni, the Nephites, were able to have a stronger bond together because they were working together towards one main cause, which was to protect their community. And so anyway, like I love like those kinds of opportunities for growth, for youth, and for communities to come together like that. And I think sometimes the Lord tries to remind us. Like the other day we had a huge flash rain flood. I don't know what else to call it. And our oldest son's room totally flooded. All the carpet was like drenched. And so we asked around, and people were checking on everybody, and other neighbors were checking on other neighbors, and people were helping and going over to people's houses to like help them with their flooding. And anyway, we had people lend us some fans and things. And it was just so cool to see how the community came together and was like, hey, what do you need? What's going on? Are you guys okay? You know, and I think sometimes the Lord tries to remind us like, hey, you know, you have neighbors, right? Like you haven't literally seen them in like 3 months and you live next door, right? Like, anyway, pretty crazy. So, you know, I should have checked on our other neighbor. Anyways, like pretty wild, pretty awesome though, to be able to do that, to come together as a community like that. Okay. So verse 17, and in these prosperous circumstances, they were the people of Nephi in the commencement of the 21st year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. And they did prosper exceedingly, and they became exceedingly rich. Yea, and they did multiply and wax strong in the land. You know what's coming? Pride. And thus we see how merciful and just are all the dealings of the Lord to the fulfilling of all his words unto the children of men. Yea, we can behold that his words are verified even at this time, which he spake unto Lehi, saying, Blessed art thou and thy children, and that they shall be blessed, inasmuch as they shall keep my commandments, they shall prosper in the land. But remember, inasmuch as they will not keep my commandments, they shall be cut off from my presence, from the presence of the Lord. And so they are remembering this, obviously. This is the promise. And we see that these promises have been verified to the people of Nephi, for it has been their quarrelings and their contentions, yea, their murderings and their plunderings, their idolatry, their whoredoms, and their abominations, which were among themselves, which brought upon them their wars and their destructions. And those who were faithful in keeping commandments of the Lord were delivered at all times, whilst thousands of their wicked brethren have been consigned to bondage, or to perish by the sword, or to dwindle in unbelief, and mingle with the Lamanites. But behold, there never was a happier time among the people of Nephi since the days of Nephi than in the days of Moroni, yea, even at this time in the 20th and first year of the reign of the judges. Isn't that awesome? It's just like there was never a happier time. Also, I need to bring this up because I feel like sometimes we read these things and it's like, blessed are thou, and you're going to receive blessings if you keep my commandments. But if you don't keep my commandments, then you're going to not be delivered. Okay, so I feel like we think too much of like, hey, if we keep the commandments, we're not going to have any struggles, and we're not going to have trials, and we're not going to have war, or we're not going to have illness or sickness, right? But if we're not keeping the commandments, those things are going to befall us. And I feel like it's because of these type of scriptures that we sometimes judge other people in what is happening in their lives, or we judge our own lives. But we judge it incorrectly, right? Like sometimes we're like, we're doing everything right, but we're going through all these trials, right? Or like, why do bad things happen to good people? That's like the thing. Or like, why are they experiencing, prosperity when they don't even go to church, or they're going boating on Sunday, or, like we kind of compare and contrast, and we make judgments and things like that. Or, it's just not healthy for us to compare. Or this is very sad. I have no idea where it cut off. I mean, I kind of have an idea because I just went back and listened, but I was on verse 23 and I literally finished. Okay. So now I'm mad because I went off on all kinds of stuff. But anyways, bad things happen to good people, even if you keep the commandments, was my gist. And sometimes the Lord promises us to deliver us at all times, as long as we're keeping the commandments of the Lord, but not necessarily to keep us from pain or from suffering, because he allows other people their agency. Sadly, for us, I guess, because sometimes we experience people's agency through hurt instead of through love, right? Anyways, okay, so I'm so sad that I missed all these things, because somehow, I swear, like, sometimes my text messages stop like the recording, or sometimes like phone calls stop my recording, and I usually put it on D&D or something, but most of the time I want to see, like, if I'm this close, like if my kids text me or something, they need me. And so I don't want to undo it, but I'm so frustrated now. Okay, breathe. Okay, so I'm going to have to pause for a second. Just to give you an idea. My walking was 53 minutes. I've already walked 2.1 miles. But this video right now is only 31 minutes long. See, I had already finished. Anyways, I'm so frustrated, mad, had to go get chocolate, you know what I'm saying? Here, look, I'll show you. See? Ugh. So, somehow, I got cut off at some point. So here we are, verse 23. I have a couple quotes. 3 quotes that I read. So sad. I had to read 3 quotes. I had shared a bunch of personal stuff. I hate it when that happens. You know what I mean? I need to have like a sign that's like, look, see if it's recording. And I actually do, but this time I'm like, wait, I've been talking for a long time. Anyways, okay, so the quote says, from M. Joseph Burrow. Remember that during the wars and challenges faced during the time of Captain Moroni, there was never a happier time among the people of Nephi. We can and should find joy when we face hard things, end quote. And it's true, like the people of Nephi were building things, coming together as a community, doing things together to help each other and serve towards a common goal, right? And it wasn't easy, but it was hard things, and they were doing those things together, and we can do hard things. And then Hugh Nibley, Teachings of the Book of Mormon, says, we need the Book of Mormon more than anything else. This is the handbook we have because it's a happy book too. This is a nice thing. You can live after the manner of happiness among the worst conditions. And it's true, as long as we have that faith in Jesus Christ. And that's in his Hugh Nibley, Teachings of the Book of Mormon, Semester 3, Lecture 59. And then Elder Neil A. Maxwell, he says in his Depositions of a Disciple. First questioner, how much real happiness is possible in this vale of tears? The disciple, that depends directly on our righteousness. The saints of the 1st century AD in the Americas were described as follows. Surely there could not have been a happier people among all the people who had been created by the hand of God. That's in 4th Nephi 16. Even in the period around 70 BC, which saw much intergroup warfare, the righteous and faithful were happy. Indeed, Alma wrote, but behold, there was never a happier time among all the people of Nephi since the days of Nephi than in the days of Moroni. Alma 50:23. Fortunately, happiness is not totally dependent on what those around us do, therefore. And then second questioner, even so, I see some sad-faced members of the church, don't you? The disciple, too many, of course, but not among those who have received his image in their countenances. None among those who've gotten outside their confining circle of selfishness. Hey! Okay, so half is well. Now the other half needs to show up so we can be whole again, right? That's what happens with our family. Okay, what was I reading? Who knows? Right, Even so, oh yeah, so the disciple, too many, of course, but not among those who have received his image in their countenances, none among those who have gotten outside their confining circle of selfishness. Indeed, the brethren are happy while they cope with serious and somber problems. Someone said, "It is too bad we don't preserve the small talk of great men. So too the humor of holy men who serve as special witnesses." End quote. Oh, speaking, okay, that's Elder Neil A. Maxwell, Depositions of a Disciple, 18 to 19. And I actually think that's interesting, because I do love it when our holy men, who are special witnesses of Jesus Christ, do kind of share some funny things during General Conference. It's so awesome to see that they have like personalities and like a life besides, like a life like us. Like they do things that are relatable, right? And so it's pretty cool. Okay. Okay, so verse 24, we're so far behind. Okay. And it came to pass that the 22nd year of the reign of the judges also ended in peace, yea, and also 23rd year. And it came to pass in the commencement of the 24th year of the reign of the judges, there would have also been peace among the people of Nephi, had it not been for a contention which took place among them concerning the land of Lehi and the land of Morianton, which joined upon the borders of Lehi, both of which were on the borders of the seashore. For behold, the people who possessed the land of Morianton did claim a part of the land of Lehi. Therefore, there began to be a warm contention between them, insomuch that the people of Morianton took up arms against their brethren, and they were determined by the sword to slay them. But behold, the people who possessed the land of Lehi fled to the camp of Moroni and appealed unto him for assistance. For behold, they were not in the wrong. And it came to pass that when the people of Morianton, who were led by a man whose name was Morianton, found that the people of Lehi had fled to the camp of Moroni, they were exceedingly fearful, for sure, they have to be, lest the army of Moroni should come upon them and destroy them. Yeah, because they're so awesome. Of course, they would have cooked them. Okay. Therefore, Morianton put it into their hearts that they should flee to the land which was northward, which was covered with large bodies of water, take possession of the land which was northward, and behold, they would have carried this plan into effect, which would have been a cause to have been lamented. But behold, Morianton being a man of much passion, therefore he was angry with one of his maidservants, and he fell upon her and beat her much. So bad aim. That's what my teenager would say. And it came to pass that she fled and came over to the camp of Moroni, and told Moroni all things concerning the matter, and also concerning their intentions to flee into the land northward. So she's spilling all the plan to Moroni, which is great, but bad for Morianton, right? So now, behold, the people who were in the land bountiful, or rather Moroni, feared that they would hearken to the words of Morianton and unite with his people, and thus he would obtain possession of those parts of the land which would lay a foundation for serious consequences among the people of Nephi, yea, which consequences would lead to the overthrow of their liberty. So this is some good foresight. Therefore, Moroni sent an army with their camp to head the people of Moroni to stop their flight into the land northward. And it came to pass that they did not head them until they had come to the borders of the land desolation, and there they did head them by the narrow pass which led to the sea into the land northward, yea, by the sea on the west and on the east. And it came to pass that the army which was sent by Moroni, which was led by a man whose name was Teancum, whoa, we love Teancum, did meet the people of Morianton. And so stubborn were the people of Morianton, being inspired by his wickedness and his flattering words, that a battle commenced between them, in the which Teancum did slay Morianton, of course, and defeat his army, and took them prisoners, and returned to the camp of Moroni. And thus ended the 24th year of the reign of the judges over the people of Nephi. And thus were the people of Morianton brought back, and upon their covenanting to keep the peace, they were restored to the land of Morianton, and a union took place between them and the people of Lehi, and they were also restored to their lands. Okay, so something that's just crazy to me is like, people just kept their word back then. People, like, words did matter to them. Words don't matter these days as much. Like, are you kidding? If I ask my kids, hey, did you guys do the dishes? Did you guys clean your rooms? They're like, yeah. And they didn't. Like, I can't even ask them simple questions, Anyways, okay, 37. And it came to pass that same year that the people of Nephi had peace restored unto them, that Nephihah, the second chief judge, died, having filled the judgment seat with perfect uprightness before God. Nevertheless, he had refused Alma to take possession of those records and those things which were esteemed by Alma and his fathers to be most sacred. Therefore, Alma had conferred them upon his son Helaman. Behold, it came to pass that the son of Nephihah was appointed to fill the judgment seat in the stead of his father. Yea, he was appointed chief judge and governor over the people with an oath and sacred ordinance to judge righteously, and to keep the peace and the freedom of the people, and to grant unto them their sacred privileges, to worship the Lord their God, yea, to support and maintain the cause of God all his days, and to bring the wicked to justice according to their crime. Now behold, his name was Pahoran. And Pahoran did fill the seat of his father, and did commence his reign in the end of the 24th year over the people of Nephi. So Pahoran is the new chief judge. Okay, some things. Remember Teancum's name. We will learn more of him, see how strong and valiant of a captain he was. As part of Moroni's strategy, he had excellent captains. They were smart, incredibly brave, and good. And it's so funny how, like, they trusted each other so much in their covenants and in their words that another person made, even if they were the enemy, right? Like, that just still floors me. Like, I just don't even get it. How did they have so much trust in these people? Like, even their enemies, right? Especially if you're an enemy. Why would you have to promise anything? Or why would you have to keep your promise if you're an enemy? I feel like that's when all the promises are out the window. Like, the whole, like, cross your fingers behind your back, you know? Anyways, okay, so let's see. He had filled this. Okay, so there we learned that Nephihah, the chief judge of the Nephites, died. He was the judge that replaced Alma the younger when Alma stepped down to focus on ministering to the people. So he had been chief judge for a long time. Imagine the stories he could tell. He was like a governor for the people for many, many years. He would have witnessed so many things. He had filled the judgment seat with perfect uprightness before God. So apparently, Alma offered him the sacred records, but Nephihah refused them. So Alma gave them to Helaman, which is interesting because didn't Alma? Oh no, I guess the original Alma the younger was given it to Helaman, and then okay. Anyways, upon Nephihah's death, his son Pahoran was appointed to be chief judge. Notice in verse 39 that this position, although civil, included an oath and sacred ordinance. All right. So we are, okay, well, that is it for chapter 50. And I do actually really like chapter 50. I think I like it because of all the preparations for war. And it just helps me think of like different ways that I need to prepare spiritually for the spiritual war that we are currently in with Satan. And so, anyways, I hope that me going so fast at the end there didn't mess you up. But I am sad that I missed out on the recording because I had a lot of good stuff. Anyways, I had to cut it shorter this time. But hopefully you are able to still understand the story and what happened there. So some questions that Redheaded Hostess is asking us is, how did the people view covenants during this time? Do you think this would work today? Like when the people of Morianton and the people of Nephihah, you know, I'm just kidding, not the people of Nephihah, the people of Morianton and the people of Lehi, in the land of Lehi, right? If you could go back in time to meet Nephihah, what things do you imagine he could tell you? Oh, cute. And then what do you think the chief judge would receive? Why do you think the chief judge would receive their position with an oath and a sacred ordinance? Because it's important, right? All right. Until Alma chapter 51, stay strong, warrior. And keep building those fortifications to strengthen ourselves.